there, and welcome to another episode of FBS. I am here today with Flux. Say hi.
Hello.
And with B. Schoolhausen, also known as Jay.
Hello.
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
I'm good.
All right. I'm glad to hear that. Because otherwise, if you were not good, I guess we'll have to start this
have a little
episode
conversation,
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's going to turn into a darker episode of FPS. In any case, so this episode, I've been working first on expanding Terminal 5, if I remember correctly. Yes, that's Terminal 5. And it's going to turn into a hybrid between the first terminal styling that Flux did a while back. Actually, I don't know how many episodes that was.
That was a while ago, I think. Yeah, like 4 or 5 episodes ago. No, I mean, not that long.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So basically what I did is just copy the sort of the main part of your plane stance, and then I added a few different details just to, I guess, to make it my own. And I also grabbed some elements from the international terminal that Jay did, which, Jay, you did that one like from scratch, right? It wasn't like you didn't copy and paste Flux.
Yep, I
even
do
though
my
they
own
look very
original
similar.
work.
Oh, okay. I think from now on, if you're going to continue expanding all these terminals, it really helps if you use the work that has been done as a base. But what I tried to do different here is to sort of integrate the service road a little bit. And then I went crazy with decals after this part that's coming right here. I did also wanted to use these like dock concrete floor tiles to extend a little bit beyond the plane stands themselves, because I noticed from looking at satellite imagery or aerial imagery from Google Maps that they have all kinds of different shades of pavement, and I wanted to sort of integrate that with the with our ramp and this whole area around the terminals. And just trying to, one good thing about these concrete docks, and I think we talked about this before, it's the fact that they now count towards props. So that's actually really helpful. And I was trying to use, in this case, those parking road elements. And I realized, this is the first time I realized that they only work on the parking road roads. Because
really?
they're like sunken down, so they clip through the floor and they create this like transparent window into the void, which is something that I also noticed with the service roads that you put together. And I had to ask you on Discord, hey, how do you like deal with transitions? You're gonna see in a minute how I like try to connect the road to the service road like a regular road, and then there's just like this invisible gap at the bottom.
Did you discover the secret in those roads?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I was too afraid to go in.
They're patched perfectly by the sunken ploppable asphalt, or the sunken ploppable concrete.
Oh, that's what you're talking about? I thought you were saying like if I went into saw the mystery underneath the void. No, I totally fixed that later on. I was thinking like way more mystical,
way more philosophical with that one.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm not that interesting.
Yeah, definitely not as useful, I would say.
I deserve that.
In any case, for the most part, I would say I kept the same shape of the terminal. That I don't remember who built this one specifically. I think you did on episode 2, right, Jay?
I built them all.
Yeah, so I didn't move it at all. All I did was just add a few more of these extensions. And out of those came out the jet bridges, which I later realized that you mentioned that there's like a newer version that looks much nicer because they have basically hollow inside and you can see through the glass. And it was too late already. But I promise so here's the thing. This episode was somewhat cut short, hence the length of the episode. Because we're having some scheduling issues between us, like vacations and people going away and all that stuff. So I will come back to the second part of this build, which I'm going to be tackling the power plant, which I'm sure you already can tell by the thumbnail and the title of the video. We're going to get into that in a second, but I won't be able to 100% finish it. There's still some work that I want to do. And there's also later on, as I was recording the cinematics for this episode, even though after sending the save to the next person, I realized that, oh man, I want to adjust this and that, and a lot of things. Usually what happens at the end of every episode. So this is the part that I copied from the international terminal from Jay, because I remember him talking about how he saw that in Google Maps, and I noticed that too. So I brought in those decals and just lowered them down a bit in different areas just to get that extra, faded look.
Mm-hmm.
And and this is a big thing I did too. So I noticed that we haven't named the gates. I know Flux spend quite a bit of time adding taxi signs, and now I really feel your pain after doing this.
Yep.
Even though this is I feel like this is very minimal compared to the work you actually did. But I put every number on every gate.
Wow.
This is Terminal 5, so it's, well, not every gate, but the gates that we already worked on. This is Terminal 5, so I figured, okay, let's start with number 50 and go all the way over there. But then I did realize that you can have 50, 55, and then, or 50, 51, sorry, 501 is what I was trying to say. You have to go in through 3 digits, and it felt a little bit odd. So this terminal was fine, having numbers from 50 to 59, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way I found to actually, have a different or gain a few more numbers, even though there's more than 59 gates, or sorry, 9 gates or 10 gates, is to cluster the ones at the tip of the terminal and name them as A, B, and C, and D, and so on,
okay.
something like that. So, but then I found another issue, which is that in the kit and the Vasmer taxi signs kit, numbers 8 and 9 are missing from the yellow theme, which is the one I picked for this terminal. So this terminal ended up fine in that color, but the rest of the terminals, you're going to see them in a moment, I had to resource to a different color scheme. And then since I knew I was going to run out of numbers, and the other terminals that we built have significantly more gates, I had to basically add a third digit. So we're going to go, I think Terminal 1 or Terminal 2 is the one you did, Flux. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I think I did both those.
Terminal
right?
2. No, I think you did Terminal 2.
Oh, one's not done yet. I moved towards 1, I think, but I didn't. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think 1 is the one that, or Terminal 2. I honestly, I can't remember exactly. But what I did for that one is just change the color scheme and go for 3 digits. So it starts, let's say it's Terminal 1, so it starts 101, 102, 103, and so on. Mm-hmm. And another thing I did is at the tip of these plane stands, I added the gate number as well.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. And this is one of the big things that I want to change after recorded the episode and doing some just detailed look at what I did. I noticed that you guys extended the plane stand lines so that they connect to the taxiway line. And the airport that I was using as reference didn't have that, so I just didn't really think of connecting it. But I do want to sort of stay true to the original design, or at least the design that's the most prominent in the project. So I definitely want to come back there and add a few more, just the connecting lines to the plane stands.
Was it SFO?
I think I was looking at SFO, yeah.
Yeah, SFO
because it's all mixed,
the
isn't it?
weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not,
It's really
because
bizarre.
it's just where I've looked, I've been I feel like these should have lines. I feel like they need
It seems
to know
dangerous.
where to put the plane.
How are they? Yeah, it seems completely dangerous because usually they use the lines to figure out where to park all the baggage trucks, because whenever they bring planes in, they don't want to have the wings colliding with tall trucks or whatever. But when you don't have the lines, what are you supposed to do? I don't know.
Okay, so this is what I was talking about before. Actually, I kind of like this color scheme more than
Yeah,
the one
me
I did,
too.
the
Nice.
plain yellow, because at least you get a different shade for the A, B, and C gates. One thing that I would recommend if you want to do this in your own airport, definitely just put them all on the floor, do all the combinations of numbers, and then raise them all together. Because if you do it one at a time, it takes so much time for no reason. So I highly recommend you do all of them at once, or at least just pick a whole bunch of them, race them, and then continue with others. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I was playing with here is these decals are the theme decals. So in this case, the original concrete theme for this project is the Cedar Valley one that has all these expansion joints. And then I think we replaced it with the Sinu one right at the beginning of the episode, just because it had a less repetitive pattern. So but the cool thing about the Cedar Valley one, the original one, is that it has a concrete expansion joint. So the theme decals are perfect to like enhance the concrete expansion joints that I'll later add manually. So basically on Terminal 5 a second ago, you saw me put all these like panels from Ronix, and then just use the theme decals to highlight some of the imperfections and make it look less repetitive. Because even if you put decals manually, it will look repetitive. So something to keep in mind.
It's such a good technique. I love doing that with Theme Mixer plus the theme decals gets you like a free extra concrete texture.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it. This is what I'm talking about. Exactly. And also, in order to save props, I'm using this like checkered like pattern style. So, because I mean, these are like perfect squares, right? So if you offset them, like you the gap that sits in between all four pieces already becomes like, you know, another tile of its own. So that's something that I figured out we could do. And this is I'm preparing sort of the area here for the power plant. So we have this gap here, and all these like major airports, we've been doing some research on this for quite some time, and we realized that they have these like massive steam plants in between the different parking lots and areas like that. And we wanted to, or at least I figured I could bridge this gap between the international terminal that sits to the right of the screen right now and Terminal 5, which is the one I just detailed. And use that space for the power plant. Now, I wanted to have separation of traffic. I didn't want all the traffic from the service vehicles to go through the plant. I wanted to keep that as separated as possible. So I started, playing around with these network walls, putting down some taller fences. And it took me a while because I did want the service vehicle traffic to go to the other side of the airport, and there's no way for them to go other than through this gap in between the international terminal and Terminal 5. So what I ended up resourcing it, I actually like tried it, did like a really rough mock-up, you'll see in a minute, and I sent it, put it on the Discord chat that we have, and I asked them, hey, like this is probably like a really crazy idea, what do you think? Basically what I end up doing is getting a bridge, so the service traffic will go through the roof of the international terminal, or at least from the side, underneath the train. I think I'm getting ready to do that now, by the way, and it actually feels like rather natural.
Yeah, I thought
maybe we
so.
should probably talk about that until it happens, but there we go. That's it. It does look quite a bit natural, and mind you, as I didn't have time to actually finish all the details, there's a lot of work that I want to do around that overpass or that bridge. It will look more like a road that's actually integrated into the building than something that's just sit on top. You can see much more clearly on this angle. And then we're using this nuclear power plant assets, which there's a lot of puzzle pieces that you can use, and you can pretty much configure them in any way you want. And that's one of the things I love the most about some of these assets, that it's just a kit where you can put them together and fit what you already had or existingly. Just putting down some pipes. And, I know in retrospect, one thing that I'm noticing is this super tall building looks a little bit out of place. Mainly because of the tall chimneys that it has at the top. So it's possible that I'll change it with a low profile type building. All these vents that you see here, this clusters of vents that look like Lego bricks, those are actually incredibly similar to the ones that exist in real life. I don't know if you guys saw some photos of that, but
yeah.
They're like basically identical.
It was this is based off the Kennedy one, right? Mostly,
it's a hybrid. It's not really based on anything. It's a hybrid between many airports. Primarily, I would say JFK and O'Hare. Those will be the main ones that I was using as inspiration. But there's no particular one that is like, oh, I copied it from there.
Yeah, but it works. Like I think that's kind of a good way to describe the stuff we're doing at FBS, kind of in general.
I agree.
It's inspiration, but no, we didn't copy it from anywhere.
Right.
Yeah,
and
I would say that's true.
Yeah, and the other great thing about this nuclear set is that there's like all those little, you're talking about the stacks and the big like cooling elements, and even just like the smaller props on top are all props you can work with, and you're placing them right now. So, you know, even if you felt like that building was a little out of place, 'cause it looks a little bit like tall and industrial compared to the terminal building right next to it, we could always kind of integrate it a bit with some more props. I know you didn't have all the time in the world to work on it either, but that's the nice thing about that set, is that it's super versatile. So you can always, you know, use those props and things kind of outside of it to make it look a little bit different. So,
well, the thing is, I noticed that Jay used a building from that set in the previous episode, and I realized now that would have been a much better choice, mainly because of how, like, the low profile. Sure, there's going to be some work to do in order to integrate this with the adjacent buildings a bit more, but it's just more of like, hey, this like tall thing is sticking out too much, where all the other power plants that I've been looking at are like you can't tell them from another building. Yeah,
that's true.
And I want to talk about something I did just a second ago. The gravel underneath the those like transforming power line extension thingies. I don't know what the actual name is, so I do apologize for that. They usually have like gravel. They're like fenced out, and they have some gravel on the floor. And I'm using this vanilla gravel. I think it's from Natural Disasters. It's just like a destroyed kind of decal. It does flicker a lot. You can sunk in it too much, but it does the job. And I also mix it up with some like rubble, a different type of rubble prop as well, just to give it a bit more detail. Now, I was when I was doing research for this, I came out this article in the LA Times. This is from like 2014. I wanted to mention this because I thought it was kind of fun. So they basically did a new version of the steam power plant that's at LAX in 2014, and instead, because it's like sitting in between all the parking lots. You can see this in Google Maps if you want to, but the old plant, it was so complex that they had to like call in the people who used to work there, like who were retired in their 70s, and they just came in for the construction just so that they could guide the new workers on how everything worked and how it needs to be taken apart and, you know, built a new one. But yeah, I thought it was nice to mention that. But yeah, this is it for this episode, as you can see in the cinematics. And I think the next episode will take place on Flux's channel, if I'm not mistaken. That's right. So if you haven't yet, please make sure to subscribe to both Flux and Jay for the next 2 episodes, and we'll see you on my channel 3 episodes from now. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you in the next one.
Bye. That looks like a good waveform. I'm liking that waveform.
I'm liking that waveform.
Pretty waveform. All right.
Wavy.
3, 2, 1.
Close.
Yeah, and
sorry, I wasn't ready, but it's okay. It's
Oh,
good.
okay.
It's
Wait,
good.
what? Oh shit! I paused it when you said you weren't ready.
You're ready, but not that ready.
I wasn't that ready. Okay.
It was just JKL.
Lamau.
All right.